Good morning students, welcome in chemistry class. Let's we discuss the preparation of family members of group 17, that is chlorine. First we will discuss the preparation of chlorine preparation and their properties. Today we will discuss about the preparation and properties of chlorine. So at first write down that it can be prepared by heating conc HCl with an oxidizing agent such as a manganese dioxide, potassium permanganate or potassium dichromate or lead dioxide also, etc. So at first we will discuss about with manganese dioxide. So students, let's we discuss MnO2 with HCl. In presence of HCl, it gives MnCl2 plus H2O and it gives nascent oxygen. This nascent oxygen is accepted by hydrochloric acid and get converted to chlorine and H2O. Now balance this partial equation method. So cancel this common by balancing and write down the main product Mn4HCl. You can balance by own HCl. So it gives MnCl2 plus chlorine and water. So students, first preparation method for preparing chlorine is from manganese dioxide. So how can we prepare chlorine in the laboratory? So write down the laboratory method also. So second preparation method which is used in the laboratory also. In the laboratory we will use NaCl plus H2SO4. It will form NaHSO4 plus hydrochloric acid. Manganese dioxide H2SO4 to form manganese sulfate, water and nascent oxygen, and this treated with nascent oxygen to form water and chlorine. So students, finalize this reaction, and the final reaction will be sodium chloride, H2SO4 and MnO2. So formation of sodium bisulfate plus MnSO4 plus water and chlorine plus water and chlorine. So you have to balance it, then write down in your notebook copy. So in this method we can prepare the chlorine in the laboratory or by the other method. So simply by heating the mixture of NaCl, MnO2 and conc H2SO4, the HCl produced is oxidized by MnO2. So during this reaction 1, 2 and 3, once this is going to be heated and this produces HCl, this HCl treated with MnO2 to form the chlorine gas. Means HCl produced is oxidized by MnO2 and the formation of chlorine gas takes place. How can we prepare industrial method of chlorine? Let's we discuss the industrial method of chlorine. So next process is by Decon's process. By Decon's process. It is manufactured in industrial. HCl gas is oxidized. HCl gas is oxidized by atmospheric oxygen. Atmospheric oxygen in the presence of CuCl2 as a catalyst. Let's complete the reaction. Simple reaction. Remember it. Try to remember it. HCl in presence of atmospheric oxygen and presence of catalyst CuCl2. Not remember to temperature. Instead of this, you can use sign. High temperature you can write also. So the formation of chlorine and water takes place. So students, in this way you can manufacture. So number of times this particular Decon's process is asked, how can you prepare the chlorine by this Decon's process. Next method is by electrolysis process. Electrolysis process. From brine solution we can prepare from brine solution. What is brine solution? It is saturated sodium chloride or concentrated solution of sodium chloride. We can say that concentrated solution of NaCl is known as brine solution, NaCl. So everybody have to be idea about this. At anode, this chloride ion give chlorine and 1 electron loss. At cathode, sodium ion takes this electron to get Na. So this 2 chlorine atom combine to form chlorine, and this Na with water to form sodium hydroxide and H2 gas. Student, as you remember, this is the chloralkali method. You have studied in previous classes how we obtain chlorine by the electrolysis of brine solution. In 11th also you can study about this in the S block elements. Now we will discuss the properties of chlorine. Few properties are very important. So write down the properties. Affinity for hydrogen. Chlorine have great affinity for hydrogen. So whenever it treated with hydrogen in diffuse sunlight, it will form hydrogen chloride. Hydrogen sulfide, when treated with chlorine, it will form hydrogen chloride and sulfur takes place. Apart from this, C10H16, it is a hydrocarbons and it is known as turpentine oil, and when it treated with chlorine, it forms hydrogen chloride and carbon removed during this process. So in this way the affinity for hydrogen, chlorine show the great affinity for the hydrogen. Next we discuss with ammonia. It is very important with ammonia. I make the star of of this reaction with ammonia, students. When ammonia taken in the excess with chlorine, so formation of ammonium chloride and nitrogen gas takes place. But in the next, when chlorine is taken as a excess, it will form nitrogen trichloride and HCl compound. So balance this equation. 6NH4 and here the 3Cl2 and 3HCl. So with ammonia it forms, if ammonia is taken as excess, so whenever the chlorine treated with ammonia and ammonia in the greater ratio, so formation of ammonium chloride takes place and a nitrogen gas evolve. But when the chlorine is taken as excess and treated with ammonia, so it will form nitrogen trichloride and hydrochloric acid. Hydrogen chloride compound takes place. Next, reaction with alkalis. Third, reaction with cold and hot alkalis. Reaction with cold and hot alkalis. So students, chlorine treated with sodium hydroxide, and it is the dilute concentration taken as a, because at first we write down the reaction with chlorine alkali, and alkali is dilute and cold. So the formation of NaCl and NaOCl and H2O. And the name of this compound is sodium hypochlorite. Sodium hypochlorite. So in fact this reaction undergoes to disproportionation reaction, whereas chlorine in the 0 oxidation state and here NaCl in -1 oxidation state, this show the +1 oxidation state. What happens if chlorine treated with hot and concentrated sodium hydroxide, NaOH, and their concentration is high, conc, and hot and concentrated? So NaCl form plus NaClO3, sodium chlorate. The name of this compound is sodium chlorate. So formation of product becomes change whenever we change the concentration of sodium hydroxide dilute to the concentrated, cold to the hot, and it is also show the disproportionation reaction -1, and here chlorine is at the +5 oxidation state. This year board examination, this question was given. So in this way you can learn it and try to balance this equation also, students. So during this reaction, chlorine is simultaneously reduced to chloride ion and oxidized to hypochlorite ion and to chlorate ion. So this is the best example of disproportionation reaction. So sometimes reasoning questions were asked in the examination. How can you show that chlorine with alkali show the disproportionation reaction? So this is the best example for given to the chlorine for their disproportionation reaction. So next next reaction is the reaction with dry slaked lime. Chlorine react with dyes like lime to form bleaching powder. Everybody know the reaction of bleaching powder, how bleaching powder is prepared. So students, dyes like lime, calcium hydroxide when treated with chlorine to form calcium oxychloride. Calcium oxychloride, calcium chloride and water. So balance this equation also. So student, the actual composition of bleaching powder is the actual composition of bleaching powder is, write down the reaction, calcium oxychloride, in which calcium chloride with calcium hydroxide and water molecules. So this is the actual composition of bleaching powder. Chlorine also show the substitution reactions. So write down the next property, next reaction. Next is the substitution reaction. At first we write down the substitution reaction, then after we will discuss the addition reaction. Substitution reaction. So best example is CH4 chlorine in presence of light, so formation of CH3Cl with HCl, and this is the chain reaction. Everybody knows about this reaction. Addition reaction, chlorine, addition reaction, chlorine react with number of unsaturated compound chlorine, so it will form CH2, one Cl here and one Cl here, so it is called the 1,2 dichloroethane. So this is the best example for the addition reaction. Apart from this, one last, it is used as a bleaching purpose. So students, as we know, chlorine when treated with moisture or water, it will give nascent oxygen. So it gives nascent oxygen, and when colored substance treated with this nascent oxygen becomes colorless. So in this way you can explain the bleaching action of chlorine also. So the students, next property is the oxidizing property. Oxidizing properties. Oxidizing property, as we discuss here, chlorine when treated with water, so it will form HCl and HOCl, will decompose to form HCl and nascent oxygen. So this is the oxidizing property where chlorine gives with the water gives the nascent oxygen, so it oxidizes acidified ferrous to ferric. Let's we discuss the reaction also. Chlorine in water, so it will give HCl and nascent oxygen, and ferrous sulfate taken, in acidic medium and this nascent oxygen, so it will form ferric sulfate and water. Ferric sulfate and water. So balance this equation, 2HCl, 2FeSO4. So cancel the H2O and H2O, oxygen and oxygen. So write down the main reaction, 2FeSO4 plus H2SO4 plus chlorine and formation of ferric sulfate Fe2SO4 का whole 3 and HCl. So in this way it show the oxidizing nature. Next we discuss about the compounds of chlorine, that is called the hydrogen chloride. Compounds of chlorine, this is called the hydrogen chloride. At first we discuss about the preparation of hydrogen chloride. So students, at first laboratory method. Laboratory method, it is prepared by heating mixture of NaCl, mixture of NaCl and conc H2SO4. Let's we discuss NaCl and H2SO4 acid base to form NaHSO4 plus HCl. Temperature is 420 Kelvin. So it is easily prepared in the laboratory by treating NaCl with conc H2SO4. What is the method for drying? Because it is formed in the aqueous form, so it can be dried by passing through conc H2SO4, because we know that H2SO4 is a strong dehydrating agent. Next we discuss about their property. The first property is chemical property. Chemical properties. So acidic nature. Acidic nature. It ionizes in aqueous solution, so it will form HCl. When dissolved in water, it will form hydronium ion and chloride ion. So HCl is in the form of gas, H2O is in the form of liquid, hydronium ion form in the aqueous, chloride ion also form in the aqueous. So student, the high value of dissociation constant indicate that it is a strong acid in water. It reacts with ammonia to give white fumes of NH4Cl. This is the practical aspects of the hydrochlorine compound, hydrogen chloride compound, because when the ammonia treated with this hydrogen chloride, the white fumes of ammonium chloride is forms. White fumes of ammonium chloride form. So it reacts with ammonia, this hydrogen chloride react with ammonia to forms white fumes of ammonium chlorides. Let's we discuss the reaction with nitric acid. We know that 3:1 proportion of HCl and HNO3 taken to form the aqua regia. So the next property is reaction with nitric acid. So the compound 3:1, 3 part HCl and 1 part HNO3 taken as a formation of aqua regia. This is formed the aqua regia. Strong acid. It has capability to dissolve noble metal also. So we have already discussed this reaction but in nitric acid, but here also again we discuss. So it will form AuCl4 plus nitric oxide plus water, tetrachloroaurate 3, tetrachloroaurate 3 ion 3, and with platinum 16H plus 4 NO3 from nitric acid and 18 chloride from HCl. So it will form H2O. Here will be 2H2O. So the compounds hexachloroplatinate 4. So this is the property of hydrogen chloride compound, students. It can dissolve noble gas also, noble metal also, by making the aquaresia in the 3:1. By the discussion of hydrogen chloride, we have completed the group 17 family members, all the characteristic of group 17 family members. So we will discuss in the next video group 18. So try to do all the question answer related to this group 17 family members, in-text question and exercise question also. So that's enough for today.